moved to Brookhaven Ridge for the peace, a quiet little corner outside city limits, surrounded by rolling hills, old oak trees, and neighbors who waved when they drove by but didn't get into your business. I worked as a zoning inspector for the county, which meant I'd seen my fair share of HOA nonsense, but I never thought I'd be at the center of it. My house sat on the edge of the development, just outside the HOA's jurisdiction, something I confirmed 3 times before closing the deal. My land, my fence, my rules, or so I thought. The first time I saw her, she was storming down the walking path in what I can only describe as a hat the size of a patio umbrella. Her name was Melinda Kemp, self-declared president of the Brookhaven Ridge HOA. And the second she laid eyes on my fence posts, it was like someone had personally insulted her interior decorating skills. "You can't build that here," she snapped, sunglasses glittering like battle armor. "This violates community visual continuity." I calmly told her the fence was permitted, inspected, and approved by me. She blinked, confused, then pointed at me like I was the problem. "Well, I didn't approve it." She huffed. "And I'm the one who matters around here." I laughed, probably more than I should have. "This isn't your land, Melinda. It's mine. And this fence is going up." She left in a fury, her sandals slapping the pavement like thunder. I figured that would be the end of it. But I underestimated just how far someone with a clipboard and too much free time would go. The next morning, my fence had a message spray painted across it in lime green community menace. I backed up the security footage and filed a report. Then I sent her a certified copy of the property plat with a note that said, "For your records." 2 days later, I was setting the last panel when I heard tires screech. Her white SUV stopped at the curb like she was busting a crime ring. She called 911 right there, reporting that a man impersonating a county official was illegally constructing a structure that endangered community morale. The responding deputy stepped out, saw my county badge, and burst out laughing. "Inspector Blake," he said, "didn't expect you'd be the criminal of the week." Melinda looked like she'd swallowed a lemon whole. She sputtered something about fraudulent documents, but the officer shut her down. "This is legal, ma'am. You're trespassing." She left, but not without calling reinforcements. 4 HOA board members showed up an hour later, looking like confused backup dancers. One of them muttered something about aesthetic cohesion. I asked if he was certified in land use planning. He said no. I handed him my business card. The look on his face, priceless. That was just the beginning. Over the next week, I received no fewer than 5 official-looking letters demanding I remove the fence. They were all signed by Melinda. None had legal citations. One even threatened mandatory dismantlement due to structural misalignment with community vision. I couldn't decide if she was trying to be a lawyer or a poet. So I did what I do best. I documented everything. I mailed each letter back with a copy of the zoning code stapled to it. And I sent the whole bundle to the county legal office. They told me I wasn't the first to complain about her, but I might be the best documented. She escalated again, bringing in 2 men in reflective vests who claimed they were there to evaluate the community interface. I met them at the gate with coffee and a folder of permits. They backed off when I pointed to the boundary marker and told them they'd be liable for damages if they crossed it. One of them filmed the whole thing. Later that night, I found a new note taped to my door, warning me of pending fines for non-approved infrastructure adjacent to shared community aesthetic. It was laughable. I filed another formal complaint. That's when the legal wheels started turning. A week later, I got a visit from a representative at the County Ethics Board. They'd received my documentation and a few similar reports from other residents. Turns out, Melinda had been issuing fake fines, overbilling landscaping services to her cousin's company, and using HOA funds to host private parties under the guise of neighborhood development nights. My evidence pushed the case forward. They began a formal audit, but Melinda didn't know that yet. She was still riding high, calling emergency meetings, handing out flyers, claiming I was leading a rebellion against neighborhood harmony. She even hosted a public HOA meeting at the clubhouse, presenting a PowerPoint titled "The Decline of Order One Fence at a Time." I showed up quietly and waited until she declared that the county had ordered my fence removed. That's when I stood up, walked to the front, and introduced myself, Inspector Nathan Blake, County Zoning Office. The silence that followed was electric. I laid out every permit, map, inspection report, and violation she had ignored. Then I played an audio clip, her voice, from a secret meeting, saying, "We'll just say he forged it. If we all stick to the story, they'll believe us." Gasps filled the room. Melinda tried to storm out, but tripped over the projector cable. She left red-faced and shaking. The board voted to remove her from office that same night. Her replacement, a soft-spoken woman named Denise, called me the next morning and asked if I'd speak at a community seminar on property rights. I agreed. 2 days later, I was on the clubhouse stage, explaining what HOAs could and couldn't do. I didn't talk about fences. I talked about boundaries, legal ones, personal ones. The kind people like Melinda steamroll for years until someone pushes back. A week passed. Melinda vanished. Rumors flew. She moved in with a sister. She was under audit. She'd lawyered up. But the tension in the neighborhood evaporated. Neighbors waved more. Kids rode bikes again. Someone left cookies on my porch with a note that said, "Thanks for drawing the line." I added a flower bed beside the fence, not because I needed it, but because it felt like closure. Then came the last twist, a letter from the county commission, offering me a spot on a new community mediation panel. My case, they said, would be used in training an example of how to document and de-escalate HOA abuse. I accepted. That evening, I walked along the fence line as the solar lights blinked on one by one. I sipped my coffee, took a deep breath, and realized something simple and true. This wasn't just about a fence. It was about the right to be left alone on land you legally own. And sometimes, all it takes to hold the line is to actually build one.